welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. Back. Let's see. Hey, we've got our regulars over there on YouTube. Actually, I see Adam. Music. I don't know whether I know you, Music, but anyway, hello, Music. And who is that? Mr. Loris Bello? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Hello, Mr. Bello. Anyway, welcome to the channel. I think it's probably just the four of us here. Mind you, Chris is here too. So, 12 people. Woo! 12 big people. Rock and roll. Coochie coo. Anyway, hello, Julian. Hello, Julian. Nice to see you. Is that our Julian? TRI Julian? I'm not sure. Or another Julian. We also have Ali in the Zoom call with us. And it looks like actually we should figure out what your schedule is. I got to go head back down to Sacramento there and buy a big fat T-bone steak there in February. Maybe we should do another road trip with you. Although I think I might just fly down this time. That isn't a long drive. But if I'm thinking about buying some land down there in Southern Oregon, I probably should drive anyway. So I don't know. We did have one driver in Portugal. Chris, what did you think of the driver that you experienced in Portugal? We won't name names. Did you have fun driving in Portugal?
Yeah, we won't name names, but I don't think highly of people from where this individual is from as far as driving goes.
Was my driving half decent last winter?
Way
Chris,
better. I'd choose to drive with you again any day over the individual that we're referencing.
As I said, we won't name names, but the person who was a anybody who was in Portugal remembers clearly who the challenging driver was. Actually, I do remember Andrea and we almost got stuck at the top of a little mountain in the rental car that we had. Actually, I haven't heard from Andrea. Where the hell is that guy? He kind of disappeared. So, Andrea, if you are watching this later on, I would like you to report in, please. I miss you dearly, sir. You were a lot of fun, part of our crew. Anyway, so welcome back to the silliness, frivolity. I'm not quite sure how you'd describe these broadcasts. We don't get a hell of a lot of views, but at the same time, too, I think if you can put up with the Beamish and his antics, and you really want to learn how to play this game, I think you can actually learn pretty easily what to do and what not to do. Watching these broadcasts, it's been fun chatting with you guys for the past decade. Can you believe we've been doing this for a decade? Wow. If anything, it's probably a testament to the what would be the term? The integrity of TRI, that you can actually stick around for a full decade in crypto without somebody wanting to lynch you. Tell you, man. And it's a sad commentary, right? Because it's really a commentary on venture capital. I don't think crypto is really any different. And bless the kids' hearts. They'll all grow up. A lot of the kids that are in the space now, of course, their formative years were through sort of that whole great financial crisis, which was, just basically the start of this con job, this great resetting that we're all being forced to go through right now. And actually, I don't think a lot of people in the public even understand this, and I don't think they ever will. Actually, some of the tweets that I put out today were sort of directly related to the current level 1 program students and what they're learning, and how actually utterly cliche this whole sort of scam of a society and the way that the banksters manipulate all of us. The way it's playing out here, it's actually just business as usual. And actually quite remarkable, because I do think, and I've shown all of you repeatedly, a number of different data sets that do suggest that this is basically the same part of the cycle. This is the absolute worst part of the entire generational cycle. Great, we have to live through this. Great that my peak earnings years, the absolute apex of my life, is basically in the absolute worst possible scenario for us to all be forced to live through. Thank you very much, God. I think honestly, this life though, philosophical, this is half the reason why we don't really have that many views is I head off down these crazy tangents and half an hour later, oh, are we supposed to be talking about Bitcoin? But in a weird sort of way, I think this is an interesting life lesson. You should sit back one day. I've done this repeatedly, especially with the crazy ass fucking adventure I've been on for the past 10 years, 14 years really now. Jeez. Well, 12 and a half, 13 and a half. I can't count. My wife passed in March 2011, March 18th, 2011, the day my life died. Anyway, so I've been living this really weird existence for the past, what year is it now? 2024. So I've been living this really weird existence for the past 13 years, where it's sort of like I'm alive, but not really alive. In fact, I don't go out. I don't interact with anybody. As soon as I'm done this, I will go straight over to Lily and I will service him for the next 6-8 hours. Then I'll come home. I'll collapse because I'm absolutely exhausted. And I'll wake up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning and do it all over again. Will say though, actually, I had a really cool conversation with a gentleman yesterday, and it inspired me again. And I feel really excited about. I you probably all are fully aware, right? I really love the market, and I love just living the market life. I don't even really care about the money, which is so ironic, because most people come to all this just for the money. And I'm here for the edutainment, the frivolity. Actually, I was spitting out for the level oneers here this morning. I was spitting out Hogue quotes. This is this is what how does some of the quotes are. This is the hardest profession in the world to make easy money. Johnny Hoagland, he would always say, you better get used to it if you really want to be a trader. You are paid to worry. That is what you get paid to do. You get, and because day trading margins are so freaking thin, you have to force yourself to step in right into the freaking jaws of the lion. As things look the absolute worst, you have to have the balls to step in and go, that's a level, I got to buy that. When everything is saying sell, 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 but that's just the way the human experience goes. Anyway, so the point being that I had a great conversation with a gentleman yesterday who's kind of like, I don't know whether he said this or not. I'm paraphrasing, but kind of like, we do a pretty good job. Our day trading room at TRI, gotta tell you, it reminds me, we've built the day trading room out to the point now where it reminds me of the days when I used to wake up and I would just go to the prop firm and hang out in their chat rooms and just be with a bunch of fellow traders, all of the funny names of people that I've given reference to in our education program, like Mountain Man and good old Brandon Rigo and the Hogue and all that. Our day trading room at TRI is at the point now where we have a number of different participants that all have their own very unique look, and we've figured out what speaks to them as individuals. And trust me, folks, it probably takes a good year or so to figure out of all the different tools that we teach and the different ways you can skin the cat, which approach appeals to you as an individual. the most. And I no two traders are built the same. So half of our job is we got to figure out, sort of what works for us as individuals. And I'll tell you, it is such a joy waking up and hopping into the day trader room and just being with the gang. And it takes a lot of years to accumulate people that actually know what the heck they're doing in the market. And whether it be people like Casper, and I think I have to from now on, especially with this idea that we're kicking around, I think I have to use people's nicknames and stuff now. So, if anything, Mr. Sea Blue, I think we have to think of a screen name for you. I don't know what you go by at Top Step, but I think we have to have a call name for you, because I don't think it makes sense us using real names if we do decide to go down this road that we're considering. But anyway, super, super excited about the prospects going forward. And, I came back from that trip down South America there in the middle of winter. And man, probably for the first month or two when I came back, I couldn't trade my way out of a paper bag, and being arrogant and cocky and full of yourself and, taking half-ass trades and stuff like that. I had to get all of that out of my system. So now actually I feel like I'm back being a demonstrator of good practices. And it's tough actually taking good day trades and demonstrating selling, half of the position when it moves appropriate distances, and then moving stops to scratch, and then just letting go. And the cool part about it is, if you get to that position, you let go, and then the market keeps moving in the direction that you're either long or short. At the end of the day, you show the chart of you closing out the position, and everybody's like, "Ooh, you're trading good," and it's really not that way. It's like, trade your setup, be mechanical, follow the rules, and just live with the results. If it happens to be you get stopped at scratch, okay. If it happens to be they get stopped at a full loss, okay. And if it happens to be that, hey, look at that, I closed the position out at the exact opposite end of the trade at the end of the day, well, look at that. I mean, it's a trader's life. That's just what you do. So anyway, so I was filled with a little bit of enthusiasm coming out of yesterday to sort of continue on and really take my day trading to the next level. Because here's the irony of it all is I started up a combine with the Top Step kids there at Combines, what they sort of call their sort of tryout program. And they just had a rule: don't lose money. You had to hit a certain profit objective, but at the same time, too, you have to be able to manage yourself. Don't blow up the account. Don't lose over a certain amount of money. And of course, keep building the account balance up over time. My threshold to be declared a good trader was I had to make $3,000, be up on paper, whatever the hell that means, in their little testing thing. And my account was up like $1,000 or so. And then, like I said, I went down to the Central and South America, kind of got, I guess, Central America, kind of got derailed there a bit for a few months, saw how bad my trading was. So did not give myself permission to trade at all, because, I want to be the demonstrator of best practices. And that means I have to show actual trading, and I couldn't make a profit to save my soul. So back into the penalty box you go. And I was actually pleased to see over the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, starting to bang out winner after winner after winner after winner. And so feeling like I'm ready to hop back into the saddle again. So I'm super excited to get going on that. And I've only got 2/3 of the objective to hit, and the account's still profitable and positive. So they don't really care. And the irony of it all is that I think all of the people that are actually in our pro trade day trader room are all funded with Top Step. I mean, I literally got everybody there funded at my old prop firm, which is an incredible achievement. I just wonder one day whether Nebraska will give me any credit for all the damn people I've sent him. I mean, basically, these guys are all making money for this guy. And I have not even had a word of thanks from Mr. Patak. But oh well, I suppose that's the way life goes. I know Mr. Hoagland, whenever I see him, he's always warm and welcoming. But Nebraska and I always had a challenging relationship. Let's put it that way. Anyway, so super excited about our day trading room and the prospects there. And then, ironically enough, like subconsciously, I was up at 4 o'clock this morning. I mean, yeah, when you are a day trader trading the markets in North America and you live on the West Coast, you have no life. So get used to it. And I think I even told you that I was seriously considering buying a house close to Chicago just so I could live a half decent time zone again. But I tell you, I have just been absolutely torn about my son. And you want to hear something like this is where the funny I live in this very bizarre existence. I was told the other day that Liam, it's almost impossible to get him out of bed in the morning, and he has absolutely no interest in doing anything. But the days that he knows that I'm coming, he is like literally up, showered, fed, ready to go, all based on his own volition. Like he would be ready for me to arrive at the house to pick him up probably within the next half hour. And yet I don't get to the house for another 2 hours. Like literally, I was told that the other day, and I said, "Really?" So he kind of likes me coming, and the guy just burst into laughter, and he said, "Brian, you're the only reason that gives him any reason to do anything is when he knows you're coming." Man, this is it's incredible. I would never wish this life on another human being. What this crazy ass fucking adventure God's got me on here right now. But at the same time, too, given that kind of information, does it make sense why I can't leave my baby? I it would be unfair. It would be cruel to do that to him. Sadly, I don't mean to be rude, Jojo, but you did that to him, and it's totally unfair to Lily. And I just can't bring myself to do that to him. And that's and this the irony of it all is that I live in this completely fucked up country. I mean, this country is stunningly fucked, and it's getting worse by the day. And I can't leave because my baby, he requires 24/7 support. And for some reason, God's given me a bit of money, but not enough to be able to afford $100,000 after tax medical bill for him to pay out of my pocket. So I'm forced to stay here. So I'm forced to live this got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning life for the rest of my life. But I love him so much. There's no way in hell I can consider leaving him. So what a twisted existence. If anything, this is a great opportunity for all of you to take advantage. Hopefully, the time that I'm putting in here on this planet Earth is actually making some sort of productive reverberation through all of this. And hopefully this reverberates, this message can somehow get out. And so I've often told people over the years, and I'm surprised I'm still doing this 10 years later. I'm actually quite shocked. This school program was never designed to be. In fact, one of the questions in this week's quiz was a direct reference to the previous fear greed cycle. And I'm a little disappointed that the team has not bothered to go ahead and change the quiz questions. But when I noticed that today, I was like, Graham, we should really get rid of that question. So I guess just the point being that this is a very unique experience here. I would strongly suggest all of you take advantage of this. If I had a half a brain in my head, I'd be on Wall Street right now. And I would probably, no offense, but there would be no reason for me whatsoever to be doing any of this with any of you right now. and I'd be living in some stupid ivory tower managing some crazy ass fund. But this is the course that God has put me on. I don't know why. And I'm not really questioning it. I just follow. And every day I always say the same thing, Spirit, you're driving the bus. Where the hell are we going today? And it's a crazy ass adventure. So anyway, rant. Probably wasted 20 minutes of your time, but hopefully you get to know me a little bit better as an individual. And I can certainly tell you, do you think Gucci sweater wearers would come on? Give me some feedback over there on YouTube. Let's see if I put all of you to sleep. Somebody give me some feedback. Do you think Gucci sweater wearer guys would actually come out and tell you a little bit about their life and their personal challenges and the trials and tribulations that they're going through? Do you think anybody would pay $5,000 for a session to listen to that kind of story? And actually, it's interesting because there is one gentleman who's trying to help us market the site, but actually, what I see is this site really isn't ready for prime time yet, which is such a shame. Like, I've been banging away at this for 10 years. But he just blatantly said there the other day, and I think he's right. When it comes to marketing, hey, look at that. One person's listening to me. Constantine, you're the only person listening to me? Remarkable. Anyway, hugs and kisses, Constantine. I don't know where you are in the world, but I'd love to come out and buy you a coffee one day. You're here all the time. I don't know whether you're aware, but like Adam, you see him here. Hey, I've slept on Adam's couch. I've eaten Jim and Liz's dinner at his house, at their house, beg your pardon. Watched the Super Bowl there. Yeah, that was funny. Hey, how your 49ers doing this year? Well, you could say, hey, Brian, how are your Seahawks doing? Or how are your Buffalo Bills doing? Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So definitely a unique experience here listening to the Beamish. You never know what the hell you're going to get. Put out some tweets this morning just to give you an idea what we're talking about in the level 1 program. And of course, Jim and Liz and stuff, you did this program previously, so hopefully you still remember this stuff. But right now, speaking to, this is the worst part of the sort of 80-year money cycle that we're going through right now. I think that we're actually going through the exact same part of the cycle that the poor people that had to sacrifice their lives to fight World War II, which to me, perfectly honestly, was a completely manufactured war by the 1% oligarchs. Yeah, I don't know whether you're aware, but Adolf Hitler was actually put in power by the US 1%. He was funded, and the entire sort of coming to fruition was, ironically enough, his job was to do nothing more than try and unseat the communists that screwed the banksters over through the previous cycle, World War One. And a lot of people make the argument that the reason why World War One and really the Soviet Revolution, which was a load of horse shit, the reason why that happened was because the banksters wanted to put Ivan Romanoff, Ivan Romanov, the last emperor of Russia, because he banned central banksters from the Soviet Union, which was then Russia. And so what did the banksters do? Because keep in mind, the way that they control societies is they establish these central banks. And as Mr. Rothschild famously once said, I care not who's in control of your country and what political parties are in control. As long as I control the money supply, I control your destiny, your country's destiny, your society's destiny. I control everything. And frankly speaking, all of the turmoil that you're seeing in our society today is directly attributable to the bankster class. And ironically enough, these idiot politicians, like this idiot that's running my country right now, I mean, the guy is not very smart. Um, yeah, he got a university degree, but it's so funny because he got a degree and he became a school teacher, and then he got a job here locally in Vancouver, British Columbia, as a school teacher, and then mysteriously one day he just disappeared and he vanished, and he's no one in public office or nobody in media is allowed to talk about why he is no longer a school teacher. And hint, 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 young girls that maybe he was fraternizing with. Uh-oh. So it is fascinating to see the I don't know what you call it. I think we all know that a lot of these woke politicians that were elected through this last fear cycle apex, uh, these people are absolute idiots. They're puppets of the 1%, the 1% of the 1%. Right? I mean, keep in mind that this guy, he basically sits on a trust fund that his father put in place. So he is not intelligent enough to actually build a business and become wealthy on his own. He's just a silver spoon kid. And like I said, his greatest claim to fame is he was a school teacher and he got fired or politely asked to leave because he was dabbling in the student body, let's say. Um, if anything, I suppose we should all sort of be slightly thankful that we're on the other side of this insane fear greed cycle apex that also corresponds with the Jupiter Saturn cross, which is I think a direct function of that greed fear. So, well, let's call it the money cycle, which moves in massive cycles. In fact, we used to have a guy on the site. He used to follow the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto relationships, and of course, Pluto only circles once every 200-300 years. The astrological people, a number of alignments with these planets, like conjuncts, that happened here, like Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto all came into conjunct, which happens like once in a dog's, or not even a dog's age, once in 100 dogs' ages. And anyway, the astrological people, they said that this is an event window that actually we only see about once in a million years. So the modern day human species has never actually gone through one of these kind of events before. Talk about great reset, eh? Holy moly. And the sad part about it is, there's like 6 of them, so you can think about it. I still, for the life of me, cannot figure out why Israel and these Lebanese and these Iranians and these Palestinians are at war to begin with. It makes no sense whatsoever. It makes absolutely no sense why, and it's that year, that war, and I don't know. The whole thing stinks like yesterday's garbage, to be honest with you. And if you look at Netanyahu, doesn't he look really weird? I mean, this guy's been around forever, and it might be just because he's getting really, 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 really old. But man, he looks bizarre. Like his head looks like it's 2 or 3 sizes too big for his body. He might even be a fucking alien for all we know. You ever seen Baalbek in Lebanon? Talk about there's one place in Lebanon actually that it's as plain as day. It actually looks like a spacecraft landing pad. Anyway, it's off topic, but it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, like these Palestinians, what the fuck were they going to achieve by doing what they pulled? They basically committed suicide. I mean, why the hell did they bother doing that? It was a complete waste of their time. They didn't achieve anything out of it. Doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, it's just absolutely baffling. I mean, I can understand what Vladdy did there in Eastern Europe, but after maybe like 50,000 dead, maybe he kind of goes, is this really worth destroying our country over? I mean, there's like 700,000 Russian people, and God, probably a million Ukrainians. And did this war have to happen? I don't think so. What the hell triggered it? It just doesn't make any sense, except for this is the worst part about this. If you understand that the way that these power center countries work is they go through these respective fear greed cycles, and you could make the argument, ironically enough, like I said, we're going through exactly the same one. Why did the Second World War happen? I mean, hey, these silly humans, it's baffling. Other than if you play connect the dots, you see that this all comes back to money and the banksters and the Great Reset plan, where they have to somehow, what's the word? Not, I don't know whether it's distract or maybe confuse. Um, kind of like fog over people's vision, but they have to somehow get the conversation away from, well, you banksters lent out a whole bunch of money and you never had the money to begin with. So why were you lending out this money that you just created out of thin air that to people that you knew weren't going to be able to pay you back? Why did you do that to begin with? I mean, that's the real question here. And yet nobody is even remotely approaching that question. And, this goes back to the Rothschilds. What would normally happen is, in medieval worlds, you'd have some sort of despot dictator. And of course, he would want to go and wage war. Famous line from the Mel Gibson movie, when the evil king of England was contemplating about the future and all that, and the old man is like, it's all about increasing your lands. You want more lands for your family, and if that means you have to go into debt with these bankster crooks to finance the war campaign, well, that's one way to take over the system from the banksters, right? They lend money out to the despots, the totalitarians, the fascists, doesn't really matter. And of course, once these dictators are up to their eyeballs in debt, now they're the bank's bitches. And basically, you have to do exactly what the Rothschilds tell you. And oh, by the way, historically, they actually call inflation the banker's tax. Wouldn't it be interesting if we got to the point in our society where we could actually openly acknowledge that inflation is the banker's tax? I bet you inflation would go away pretty quickly. But they just have this. I mean, the number one, these people are incredibly fucking smart. And then number two, they have all the time in the world. So they're more than comfortable, running a 20, 30, 40, 50-year plan. And they know exactly at what part of the generational cycle the humans are going to do these stupid things. And of course, when the time is appropriate, then we have mysteriously wars seem to pop up out of nowhere. I remember through the whole sickness and crap, there was a guy, and I remember barking about this with all of you. There was a guy walking up and down the freeway in Washington State, I-5, with a blowtorch, and they literally had him on camera, and he was just literally lighting the forest along the highway on fire with a blowtorch. And nothing came of that ever. I mean, God, you didn't hear all about all these people about talking about global warming. Don't you think that would have been a good way to maybe prevent a bit of global warming? Don't have people walking up and down the freeways lighting the damn forest on fire. And nothing came of it. And I think that he was very much like How many riots have you seen out of the great state of Wisconsin? I have never heard of a riot in Wisconsin. And mysteriously, out of that, all of a sudden, well, the peasants are revolting in Wisconsin, of all fucking places. Where the hell do you come up with this stuff? Oh, but it turns out that this is a special economic zone and you only get the tax write off if you buy the real estate in there and the real estate goes down in value. Well, how are you going to make the real estate go down in value? I know, let's have a riot where, the masses are running up and down the streets, lighting buildings on fire and lighting cars on fire and threatening to murder people and stuff. All of a sudden, instantly, oh, gee whiz, neighborhood seems to be falling in price. And the real estate values seem to be falling. I wonder why. And, oh, hey, that's a big tax break for the people who own all that land. I mean, the conspiracy, I mean, get your tinfoil hat, right? I mean, I could go on ad nauseum about this, but this is all part of the bankster plan. Like I said, Adolf Hitler was put into power by certain individuals. And it's interesting how that conversation is never talked about in Western society. I could literally spend 2 hours here just going on and on and on and on about all the terrible stories. And if anything, this is the tragedy of being a student of history, is that I actually do like learning about history. I like remembering history. And I like trying to convince all of you not to repeat history. And yet the public, and in a weird sort of way, and I even sort of said this in our newsletter here this week, is the public is actually, I think the education program, the education system in our society is actually put in place for a very specific reason. And the way that it's built is to keep the masses as actually uneducated as possible about things like history. Anyway, and of course, every single broadcast, this is another thing like Nebraska. This guy, I don't know whether I actually lead to any sales for him, but every single video I mention this guy. If you really want to learn the history of money and how insanely corrupt it is, and if you really want to understand the macro image, hold on a sec. That's why the solution does not lie in discussion. If you really want to understand the motivations of how the 1% operates in our society, go and check out our buddy Singh. I don't know who this person is. I don't know whether that's him, but go watch this video, The Money Masters. And I've repeatedly, of course, mentioned this. This is like required reading. So if you are in our education program at TRI and you have not watched this video, well, I think if you can spend the next 3.5 hours educating yourself about how the monetary system actually works. And once you do understand this, then you'll be just as pissed off as I am every fucking week I talk to you guys about this. Because it's never ending. And it's really tragic the way our society is manipulated. And nobody seems to clue into this. I don't quite understand why. There's a great line in this documentary. It's 3.5 hours, right? Where the guy who actually invented, not invented, but Ford, right? The Ford Motor Company. He basically said a famous quote: if the American public ever really actually understood how this banking system is set up and works, there'd be a fucking revolution tomorrow. I mean, that's how bad this is. But anyway, they all remain ignorant and it just keeps going and going. So, this is the 1930s. And what's interesting back here, of course, is that they didn't have the ability to do this fiat currency system because, ironically enough, fiat currencies are garbage. They're worthless. And back in this year, when the guy was actually in charge politically of the United States right here, he basically said, look, if you go and invest in the stock market, speculate in the stock market, play the market on margin or whatever, and you lose money, well, it's your own fucking fault. You're an idiot. And of course, how did that go? Keep in mind that the US central banksters were created, and ironically enough, JP Morgan was one of their leading advocates. And it turns out that JP Morgan actually owned about 20% of JP Morgan. The rest of JP Morgan was owned by the Rothschilds, by the way. Fucking, it's just the more layers of the onion you pull back, the more upsetting it gets. But anyway, some argue that they let this bubble happen and then let the whole thing collapse. And then, of course, at this point, the politician, the guy who said you play the stock market and you lose money, well, it's your own fault. You shouldn't be fucking gambling in the market. What are you doing? And if you just bought a share in a company and it went up and you're like, oh, geez, look how rich I am. But you didn't take any leverage out on it, or you didn't borrow money to actually go buy that stock, and the stock price went down. Well, it's just so fucking what, stock price goes up, stock price goes down. It's no big deal. I mean, yeah, obviously your paper net worth goes up, goes down, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really make any difference. The key here, of course, is that as this thing was going straight up like this, they conned everybody and their brother into going and borrowing money to play the market on margin, right? And that's what led, when they broke the market and all these people had bought on margin, of course, they were all wiped out. And that's what they call the Great Depression. And ironically enough, right at the bottom, all through here, the banksters said, sorry, we're not going to lend you any more money. In fact, anybody that did lend money and you can't pay it back, we're putting you out of business, right? Just think of somebody over on YouTube. Tell me, have you ever seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life? Anyone? Hello, Ali. Have you ever seen It's a Wonderful Life? Pixel 6 Pro. Now there's a name. Your mom thought about that while she was on the birthing table. I'm going to name my baby Pixel 6 Pro. Well, I know you, Connor. You're awesome. You've already bought the punch. Actually, Connor's in my level 3 program right now. So why aren't you reading your harmonics manual, damn you? Just kidding. Actually, Connor was down there in El Salvador with me. What do you think, Connor? If they released those guys from jail there, do you think we'd still be alive today? Some of the places we went into El Salvador, if those fuckers were free, man, we would have been so dead. Oh, you've been sick for 3 days. Oh, shitty. Take it easy, man. Actually, I had a bit of a headache overnight, and I woke up this morning going, not a bit odd. So, I have a funny feeling I have that same bug too, because Liam, he vacuums up everything. I wouldn't have gone to visit if they were not in prison. Yeah, and that's what scares me about a place like that is, you got like 100,000 like hardcore fucking gangsters that just so happen to be in a concentration camp right now. But what happens if this Bukele guy dies? What happens if Bitcoin goes down in value? And then all of a sudden the dream about, oh, Bitcoin's going to save us. I thought it was interesting just the other day, one of our site members passed along a note that the IMF is pleading with El Salvador to stop their Bitcoin reserve sort of dependency. I wonder if the IMF is aware of what's about to hit the Bitcoin market, or I don't know. We'll see. Only time will tell. I hate to say it, folks. You're probably not going to like this, but I actually get the impression that crypto is kind of yesterday's story. Where are the Justin Suns of the world? Don't you remember last cycle? There were like 4 or 5 of these billionaire little crypto kids all crawling all over Warren Buffett, and just about this part of the cycle, all demanding that he endorse Bitcoin. Of course, he's sitting there going, oh, it's rat poison and all that kind of talk. I mean, where are those people? I don't hear any of that kind of talk these days in crypto. It does definitely feel like crypto was yesterday's story. And crypto actually did its job, right? Its job was to provide George Bush Sr. and all of those people an ability to completely hedge against the 1% fucking here. And it worked beautifully. And if you were really lucky and you got in on the ground floor of the story, you made a lot of money. But I don't think you're going to see those same kind of movements going forward. Sucks. I mean, you might see Bitcoin here go from 60,000 up to 100,000. I could see that 105, 110,000. I think Crypto Chico, I think that was his target here for this coming cycle. But what is that? That's not even a double. Where's my 10x? Where's my 100x? I don't think you're going to see 600,000 Bitcoin. I just can't see that. I would say though, and the good part about venture cap is when we get into these particular cycles where the U.S. Federal Reserve, in whatever central banks or crooks, they have deemed that the world must grow again. Because keep in mind, we live in a world of debt, which means that the world must grow. There must be some sort of inflation, right? Because that's the way the banksters make a profit on all this debt. There's no way in hell they're going to allow deflation, because then that would mean that they would actually have to pay the person who borrowed the money. And there's no way in hell the banksters are going to pay to hold this paper. It is scary, this part of the cycle, for those countries that are not part of the hegemony, though. So sadly, of course, this, just stupid, woke, idiot trend that I think basically hit a peak into the very trough of the interest rate cycle. And this interest rate cycle is a very predictable 80-year cycle. When we hit the absolute sort of peak of bond prices, trough of interest rates themselves, you had a lot of sort of newly minted political experts like that AOC doofus running around saying money doesn't cost anything. We can print as much money as we ever need. And you might even argue that the actual creation of that kind of mentality, that mindset, is actually in itself what brings an end to that falling interest rate environment. And as I said, in years, centuries gone by, instead of there being over the top socialism, which is a relatively new concept, it works beautifully for the banksters' sort of ultimate ends, ultimate goals. But it basically does the same job as the fascists who want to go and conquer their next door neighbors. And so they have to go and, buy an army and buy weapons. And of course, that drives the country into debt. So this over the top socialism, which is just money being spent on nothing, we get absolutely nothing of the backside of it other than bigger government, which produces nothing. It basically it meets the goals of the 1% bankster crooks to hyperinflate the money supply once every 80 years and basically great reset us. And the great resetting is nothing more than you will add a zero onto the end of all your price tags. So, I've told you all recently, repeatedly, it's 10 years I've been doing this now. Stories never changed. When I was first employed in the stock market, I used to go to Subway and get my 6-inch tuna on cheese for lunch every day for $2.75. And I used to think that was actually a lot of money then. You go to these Subway restaurants now, and easily that's 5, 10, and 5 times the price. And frankly speaking, by the end of this cycle, and yeah, unfortunately, the last couple of years of this decade are actually the worst part for the inflation. So a lot more shit is coming down the pike, folks. But that Subway sandwich now is $8, $9, $10, which the sandwich is actually worse because the tuna that you eat now is laced with these micro cancer causing agents and shit. So our standard of living is collapsing, but the price is like 3, 4, 5 times. Is it really anything to do with the quality of the sandwich? I would actually argue that quality is going down. This has everything to do with the actual currency in your pocket is literally worthless, and it's collapsing on a daily basis. Eh, welcome to your reality. Hope you like it. Bend over, take it hard up the butt. So anyway, as I had said earlier, if you really want to learn the actual reality of our world, go watch that Money Masters video. I say it every single week, and look at that. There's 60 people over there. All of you should be able to recite that video by heart. Anyway, so where are we in the big long-term cycles? If we take the money printing out of the equation and just try and compare apples to apples, you can actually see that this is the 1930s, the roaring, booming stock market of the 1920s, the Great Depression of the 1930s, the Bretton Woods, the great resetting of our society, as we all went and murdered each other around Europe and Asia through that particular cycle. And you could actually argue half the reason why the Japanese actually went to war with the Americans is because the Americans were actually trying to blockade the Japanese. And the Japanese, sadly, Japan does not have a single drop of oil in the country of Japan. So they have to import all of their oil. The Japanese weren't playing ball with the Western powers. And at that point, the United States of America was actually the predominant oil exporter of the world. And so the Americans said, sorry, we're not going to sell you another drop of oil. Too bad. You don't like it? Suck my you know what. I mean, if somebody does that to you, how many of you drive cars? Maybe you drive electric cars and somebody just said, sorry, you don't get any more gas. It's over. Just there is no negotiation. It's over. You do not get any more gas. Or, your silly little Teslas. And actually, I put out a really cool, I got to say, if you want to know a really, really good, not Brian over the top stupidity, because I know that I don't really resonate very well with the public because I'm way too over the top and way too boisterous and all that shit. There was a really, really cool podcast that's done by the Canadian Taxpayers Association. Poor people. Where is it? This right here. And their headline, right? Canadians say no to electric vehicles. I mean, it's hilarious to see the actual public backlash and how utterly and completely out of touch these stupid woke idiot fuckheads from like the World Economic Forum, Justin Trudeau, that Carney guy. They are all so completely out of touch with the Canadian populace. This was a really, really good podcast because it was just three Canadians. And, nothing racist about this, nothing sexist about this. And keep in mind, that's the way that these stupid fuckheads like Trudeau try to separate us and try to divide us. Is they'll say, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're a homophobe or whatever, trying to constantly divide us so that we can't unite together under and call out the bullshit for the bullshit. So I love this podcast, right? Two ladies, an older lady, a younger lady, this young, handsome guy. Looks like obviously he's of an ethnic descent. I don't know where he's from. He speaks perfectly articulately, very, very intelligent. He's probably got way more intelligence than I have. And these three, man, they just nailed the situation in my country. So, it was a pleasure listening to the three of these. And they just fucking tore into these Canadian woke idiot politicians. In fact, actually, the guy right here, he had an awesome line, and I even commented, but I don't even know whether I can show it to you because there's so many comments about this. But there was this one line halfway through the video. He goes, this Jagmeet Singh guy who is like a total sellout. He has no ideological bent whatsoever, like he's like Camilla Harris. I was shocked when I saw Camilla Harris like in media back in 2020 when she actually was trying to run for president, and you saw how quickly she got fucking shuffled out of there. But she even said, "I'm against fracking. We're going to illegalize fracking." And then all of a sudden, just recently, "Oh, Miss Harris, how do you feel about fracking?" "I love fracking, and oh, I love the state of Pennsylvania, and I'm going to endorse fracking while I'm here." I mean, God, what a joke. Anyway, so the same thing with this Jagmeet Singh guy in my country. And this guy just like appeared out of nowhere like 10, 15 years ago on the political scene. Anyway, this guy here, and I don't even see my comment, they probably erased it, but he goes, a shell of a husk of a human being. Perfect description. This guy right here, I don't know what his name is, but I tell you, if you have an opportunity after I'm done here, don't leave now, but after I'm done here and I'm out with Liam and you want a very real look at the country of Canada, listen to the three of these. These guys, it was actually a pleasure to listen to actually people who are speaking just common sense. And if anything, that's probably going to be the hallmark of this whole generational movement is for like literally 10 years, the entire human species just lost all common sense. That's really how I look at what's happened to our society. Just common sense, just right out the window. How on earth does this little fuckhead who doesn't even have a finance background, how does he justify doubling our national debt in the period of 5 years? And he was never even elected as a majority government. He was at best elected as a minority governor. And, you know, if you understand just really simple, what is inflation? Inflation is a monetary phenomenon. If you go and double the national debt, remember, we live in a debt-based society. That's what money is, controlled by these bankster fuckheads. If you go and double the size of the monetary base, what has to happen to a loaf of bread, a house, a pair of shoes, shoelaces, an egg, all of it? It has to double in price. There's no way around it. Inflation is a monetary phenomenon. And, you know, I mean, obviously all three of these, they just spent half of the broadcast talking about how fucking criminal this all is. And what I don't understand is how the Canadian populace just can't, they just can't clue into this. Yeah, and I just sit here for 10 fucking years banging my head against the wall, you know? Wow. I haven't even said anything here and I've been barking for an hour. How does this work? Anyway, hopefully I got through to the 62 of you. So that's encouraging. We have a few people watching. And the people that are going to watch this afterward, you know, maybe leave a comment. Do you see inflation in your world? Have you played connect the dots between the amount of money that has been printed in your society and what prices are doing in your society? I mean, I hate to say it, but I actually heard an anecdote earlier today that I actually think the price inflation is worse down in the States than it is in China, which is shocking. Something about prices of eggs, eh? Boy. Anyway, so if you have the opportunity, I would strongly suggest you watch this. And the irony of it all is that probably most of you watching this, you know, you probably can't even point out where Canada is on a map because it's so irrelevant in the world. But anyway, all right. So I should probably try and get some religion here, and actually try and spend this time a little bit more efficiently with all of you. Sorry about the rant. Did find it interesting. This is an interesting side comment. Chris was telling me, and actually we even put it in the newsletter, so it is relevant. The U.S. regulators have actually allowed for betting sites to exist to bet on U.S. political outcomes, and you know, for many years, actually, gambling was considered a vice. And there are people that actually suffer from gambling addictions. That's how bad gambling can be. And you might even argue to a certain degree that a lot of people in this sort of, speculative space in the stock market and in the futures market and, trading cryptocurrencies, I hate to say it, but I think a lot of them actually have gambling addictions and they can't control themselves. And oh boy, do they ever lose a lot of money based on these addictions. Um, so this is I think it's actually not a good sign what we see happening here, which is really sad. Um, but it seems like, like I was, when in my youth, I used to love following football. And now when I turn on, the sort of pre-game shows for football, like every second commercial is for one gambling site after another. So I guess gambling is no longer considered a vice. It's no longer considered sin. I mean, there are half of the reason why the mafioso controlled the gambling industry was because it was a vice that the regular society didn't really want to have any part of, and the mafia is like, fine, we'll take it over, and we run the whole gambling thing. And I think in a weird sort of way, they actually went to Vegas, and then corporate America saw how much money that the mafioso was making based on this gambling. That corporate America said, enough is enough. We're stepping in and we're taking over. So now, mysteriously, gambling is actually acceptable. It's normal. And if you lose money gambling, it's actually, I guess, considered normal and okay. So now it's spilling over to the political scene. It used to be for a very long period of time you were never allowed to bet on political outcomes. Mind you, I don't know. I'm sure they had it in Vegas, but who knows? Um, and I'm sure you could probably find a mafioso bookmaker who could probably make you a bet on the political outcomes. But now it appears that basically corporate America has worked its way in to the political betting arena. And this, aside from your thoughts about whether gambling is good or bad or whatever, what I did find interesting about this was this, I think, is actually controlled by one of the futures industry people. And keep in mind, they are 100% the 1%. How ironic. So what I found interesting about this site was when you came on here, the headline right across the front of it, and I actually even put a tweet out earlier today about this, was that the screenshot that I got was that they, as sort of a function of the 1%, they've mysteriously got Cami winning this election. And yet, Chris pointed out this is a crypto-based betting platform that is probably not controlled by the 1%, maybe a little bit more decentralized. And they actually have Mr. Trump winning. And now actually starting to get to the point where he's got a couple point lead on her. Honestly, between me, you, and the fence post, I listen to all the rhetoric on social media, and I don't hear anybody endorsing Cami. I think this is more really a protest vote. I don't think anybody really wants Cami. There's so many people that just absolutely hate Donald Trump with just every fiber of their existence that they will just do anything other than Trump. But I did find it interesting that, part of the 1%, oh, interesting, Cami seems to be winning. And look at this. I mean, Cami is basically painted as always ahead. And then not part of the 1%, oh, Mr. Trump seems to be winning. Interesting development there, right? The one thing, actually, the best way for you to actually predict whether Mr. Trump's going to win or not, and I don't know, I think Cami has a meme coin, but what's the meme coin doing? And it was interesting when Cami first got appointed there, and they basically palace coup of Sleepy Joe. I think they just gave him some extra sleeping medication, and he's literally been asleep since that day. I find it incredibly fascinating that if you follow the actual meme coin, and this is beautiful, actually, we even put it in the newsletter, right? The meme coin, right? This right here was when Cami was announced that she was, because like they had the debate and Trump just made fucking Sleepy Joe just like look like an absolute idiot. And so what ended up happening, that his meme coin started to put in W's and started to break out. And of course, we're bullish whenever we see W's. Then Cammy came along here and they were all panicking and dumping. But the fascinating thing about this, and this is such a great analogy of our technical analysis prowess, is that we should remain bullish as long as this W persists. And they brought the market right back down against these lows, but they did not break these lows, i.e., the W was never broken. And as a result, look at what's happened on the other side. And I would say this right here is Mr. Trump, basically the market's vote that it looks like Mr. Trump's winning. Now, we might find, because keep in mind the election's still about a month away, we might find that there might be a 1 week pullback here. Maybe Donnie says something funny. Who knows? Or maybe Cammy comes out and I don't know. Who knows? Can't write better fiction than reality. But it is interesting how, I always like to de-risk as fast as possible because I'm a chicken shit by nature. I do not like to lose money. I hate losing money. Hate it with a passion. And it's, one of the reasons why I put myself back in the penalty box when I came back from El Salvador there. And I was looking at my trading and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm losing money. Stop losing money, you idiot. Go to the penalty box. You got to paper trade until you can actually prove that you're making money. So now I'm back to the point where, okay, feels like I'm feeling pretty good, et cetera, et cetera. But the point here is you can see how close I am to my sell half on a double order. And I think all of you should get into the habit. And this, of course, is what I teach everybody. De-risk as fast as possible. Once you get to this point where this double order is filled and you're done, you got your original money back, I don't care what the fuck happens on the other side of this. But I can't stress it to you enough how incredibly important it is as a money manager. That's what your job as a trader is you must think risk first approach. I do not see enough people in this space taking a risk first approach. So if there's a theme of today, it is you may see me banging out doubles tweets, but what's most important here is I have no risk. If you ever see me say banging out doubles, it means I have a no risk trade. And that is the place all of you must get to. You have to get to the point where you are just playing with the market's money. Because I don't want to see any of you become Three Arrows Capital working at fucking McDonald's now, idiots. Can I get some buy-in from the 60 of you watching this? I will take a risk-first approach with everything that I do in the market. I am a chicken shit by nature. I know none of you are going to type that, but I'll type it just to show you I have no ego whatsoever. I am a chicken shit, but we won't say shit because Google will shit on us by nature. And I suggest all of you be the same. All right. So I was quite pleased to see this. And it was just interesting to see how when the polls started to turn back up in favor of Mr. Trump and this idiot stupidness of this Cammy fucking, it was the weirdest thing. It was like we stepped into some sort of weird vacuum and she all of a sudden was like, oh, I'm credible. Oh, I could lead the United States of America. Look at me. And all that nonsense. And I think the American public, I watched a video earlier today and it was so cool. It was like there were these four brothers that were sitting there and they watched Cammy's speech in Pennsylvania. And the four brothers just sat there and picked her apart. and was just, I don't even know whether they were really even so much pro-Trump, but they just sat and they just completely just picked her apart, one point after another. The hypocrisy, the blatant lies, the way that she doesn't answer questions and starts talking about how she grew up in the hood or something like that, which is total nonsense. She did. I don't know whether you Americans are aware. Jim and Liz, are you aware that Cammie has actually spent more time in her formative years in Canada than in the United States? Did you know that? I bet you didn't. It's shocking that the number of ties to sort of the World Economic Forum, that Carney guy, all this, WEF and the 1% and their agenda, and the way that she talks like a fucking commie Marxist, Leninist. Like, where the fuck did this person come from? And how the hell did she get up on stage? I watched this one video. It was so cool where her teleprompter just turned off halfway through the speech and she didn't know what to say. It was so cool. She just like literally just kept saying the same thing over and over and over again because I don't even think she's got a half a brain in her head. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. Okay. So wish me luck. And if I'm really lucky, Mr. Trump here gives me a risk-free trade. And then you want to take fucking Trump to the moon? Great, take Trump to the moon. You want to take it to zero? Fine, take it to zero. Get yourself into that risk-free trade as fast as possible. Now, something really interesting that we had pointed out here before we got the video going here today. I don't know whether you've noticed, but crypto's kind of done nothing for the past little while. A Bitcoin itself just completely parked sideways. I've told you all recently, and I fully believe this, that since this event right here, where the ETFs actually came online, right? Since that event right there, Bitcoin has now been officially securitized. I would actually make the argument Bitcoin's basically owned by Peter Fink now and all of his cronies. I mean, there's something like, I think there's like literally 10 or 20 different Bitcoin ETFs. Now, why on earth does there have to be so many fucking Bitcoin ETFs? I know, because Wall Street wants to cash in on this phenomena. But the problem is now that Bitcoin's been securitized, I think what's happened here is under normal circumstances, and we can go back and look at charts from the past, but I would actually make the argument that Bitcoin needed to do a healthy correction here. But since it's been securitized, Mr. Fink has basically said, there's no fucking way I'm going to let this thing go negative. That just ain't going to happen. Yeah, very good, Rad. They always say that the first step of curing the problem is just simply admitting the truth. So the fact that you are admitting that you're chicken shit by nature, that is an excellent first start to getting you acting like a professional trader in the marketplace. I mean, Chris, when we get up in the morning and we're thinking about trading futures contracts, are you out there just willy-nilly taking shots just off the cuff, or are you scared shitless about losing money?
I am consistently taking a risk-first approach. So if I am going to lose money, at least I know how much I'm going to lose.
All right. And it's done in a very systematic, professional way.
Absolutely.
I mean, sadly, folks, you're never going to get to the point where you never lose money. It always happens, especially in day trading. So it has to be relative, right? Your average winner has to be bigger than your average loser. Number of trades that you win have to be more than the number of trades you lose. The average duration of your hold period of your winner should be bigger than the duration of your loser hold periods, all that kind of talk, right? I mean, that's acting like a professional in the market. We are scared shitless of losing money constantly. It's just the way our lives are. So anyway, okay. So the point I would just simply make, and I've been making this point now for 6 months, is that basically Bitcoin is range bound. We're stuck in this trading range. And kind of fun, we have a TA for the level 1 program, and her husband have both gone through the education program. And her husband, he likes to wear bow ties. And one time he was here locally, we went out for dinner and entertainment, and he had on a bow tie. And every time I see the bow tie formation in the marketplace, I always think of Casey. It just is the way that it is. I don't know where Meg is. I guess they're away today. Usually Meg's here. So it is kind of interesting. Had we drawn these lines 6 months ago, well, even a few months ago, right? Because you could actually draw on this market structure line off of this little price action right there. Isn't that interesting? Do you think any of us would have predicted that we would literally do nothing but just basically coil right up into the apex of these two trend lines? I bet you nobody would have predicted that. Anyway, here we are. And actually, it was interesting. Like this, I think, is a good tell of the 1% and the way that Fink basically, I think he stepped in and he stopped the bear here because the rule is that markets usually resolve about 2/3 the apex of the trend line. And you can see that about 2/3, that looks like right about here. They were getting to rip this thing, getting ready to rip this thing a new A-hole here. And you can see this bar, then this bar. At one point, we were right down here below 50,000, and this thing was ready to collapse. And I think Mr. Fink said, sorry, you are not going to show any negative balances from the people that bought all this paper off of me. You get your ass back up there. That's what I think has happened here. Having said that, who cares? It's irrelevant, my opinion. Chris, what are people's opinions worth around TRI?
Not worth a damn, something like
Yeah,
that.
there really aren't. Neither are any of yours. I'm sorry, people, but our opinions are worthless. What we want to do is trade setups, right? Where we know that if we see a certain amount of criteria that come in a certain way, that we have a relatively good statistical odds that we'll make money from trading. Kind of like what I showed you with Mr. Trump. When we see W's come in on these price charts, I bought this level right here, and you can see how much heat I had to take on this. At one point, I was like, oh, fuck, what an idiot I am. But did the bottom hold? No. I mean, did the bottom break? No, because I know I've been working with W's long enough that I know 60 to 70% of the time this W will hold, and this is often what will happen on the other side. That's trading a setup. If you buy W's and you buy the W and you risk against a break of the bottom of the W, that's trading a setup. That's criteria. Ideally, I'd like to have three different reasons to justify taking a trade. And quite often, what I teach in our education programs is I want to see things like price structure, W's. I want to see location. I can only justify coming in and spending my money if the asset's been driven into the ground. Sentiment's a really good one. I did see people on the site talking about sentiment as a reason to justify acting. I think actually, I can't remember what it was. It was a conversation that I saw the other day on the site. Might have been Julian who was talking about that, but sentiment is perfectly good reason. Obviously, indicators, divergence, right? They're just reason after reason after reason. Ideally, we want to have three unrelated reasons to justify acting. So when I look at Bitcoin price right now, I don't have any reasons. And I remember last weekend, I had the exact same show with you, and we were sitting right here, and we were right up against the top end of the range. And I was like, I don't have anything here, folks. I'm sorry, which sucks because I know all of you want to go, well, that Beamish guy said this was going to happen. So I'm going to go buy because I don't want to bother learning how to be a trader. I'm just going to ride this guy's coattails, which is the exact wrong thing to do, by the way. Anyway, point here is, wow, did price ever break there last week? I mean, and what's scary is I see them do this repeatedly, is they'll break the market halfway through the week, and then slowly they'll bring the market back into like a Friday. Then they'll consolidate it. They'll move it higher through the weekend because none of the adults are around. And then they do the same damn thing come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They'll top the market, they'll break it. Then Thursday, Friday, they got everybody thinking bearish. So they'll start bringing the market back. Then through the weekend, they'll consolidate it. Crypto kids are feeling optimistic. And then we do it all over again. I had actually, and this is my comment to everybody, I even said it on the public tweet, was I really don't see anything happening here until the election is over. I really don't. So, the point I would just simply make is I don't think there's a huge hurry here. whether it be fundamental drivers. Who is going to place a huge bet on an asset like Bitcoin right ahead of this election? I can't see anybody doing that. And then technically, I don't have any reason to be bullish here whatsoever. I mean, we just made a new panic low here. So at best, if I'm thinking bought, I want to see one higher low, two higher lows. Maybe this is a third higher low. I'd like to see a little bit more consolidation here. This is a new clothesline low. So if we actually pull up the clothesline image, this is actually still very bearish. I will say, though, the overt bearishness was broken here this last week when they were able to come back up and break this high. That broke this sort of M structure here, which ironically enough just sort of reiterates more that we're just stuck in a trading range. And I suppose, if we can get through the election, you can see how close the election's coming here. And we can get on to the other side, I could very easily see this make, attest these lows. So we have a nice higher closing low, and you can see the reload zone that's lining up here. We could very easily dip right back into the reload zone. You've often heard me talk about candle body highs and lows for trade location. So keep an eye on how market acts around this closing line low here. If we can somehow get a higher low to print here on a weekly basis, then that means we'll start getting consolidation signals. Higher highs and higher lows defines a bull market, and we can get ready for our next leg higher. I do honestly think that 2025 should be a very bullish year for this space. Why? Well, I mean, you guys have heard this all 100 times before, so it's really nothing new. But let's see if I can find the chart here. And often this is where I derail myself as I get lost in chart land. Not that one. It's all the way over here. Actually, I think it's this one. Nope, it's this one. All right. Well, good. Didn't get too derailed. So here is our seasonality study for Bitcoin. And I do definitely think that we go through a spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. And look where we are. So we went through the winter, of course, SBF, all that kind of bullshit. Bottomed the market, firmed up into the halvening event. I still think, like 2016, I think that we needed to do a 50% retracement just to clean up the technical picture. But as I said, we've got Larry Fink driving the bus here now, and I don't think Fink wanted to see any kind of down movement in this asset. And now that it has futures, which can be bought and sold by market participants completely outside of this SEC, and we have these ETFs, which they can control the market through the options market, which is also completely outside of the control of the SEC. They can completely manipulate this thing both up and down and never have to report a single thing to the SEC. So the point I would just make here is I would have thought that we would have had to do a 50% retracement of this, but I did hear a lot of people on the site, and I think Peter Brandt guy was going on about how, wow, this to me looks like a bull flag. I don't necessarily think it does look like a bull flag, but I'm not going to really get into that debate right now. What I'm just going to simply say is it does look to me like this is consolidation. And so boom to boom. When this thing breaks out, it'll be a bull A, B, C, D. And if we don't make any lower lows, I have no idea whether we're going to or not. Again, I'm not in the business of predicting the future, but I'm just going to simply say is if and when this thing does break out, that's going to be my price objective. Interesting on a just pure bull flag perspective, that paints 200 G's as a price objective. I'd also say too, I think on balance, This is our fairly regular cycle that we do. And on Wednesdays, actually, we have the crypto show back up and running. So Ben and I will look at this. Ben was the one who actually mapped all this out on Litecoin originally. It was a beautiful study. But the long and short of it here is you see this 1.382. That does a really good job of marking tops. Notice 1.382, there's a top. So I am thinking 1.382. We should be looking for a top in this market into next fall. Just that simple. Don't overthink this. Keep it simple, stupid. You might even, interestingly enough, just draw a simple let's play connect the dots. And oh, isn't that interesting? So you see where the bull flag target is. You see boom, boom, boom. And of course, this is our very normal cycle pivot date. So there is money to be made here. I just don't think you're going to see Bitcoin go up 10x. You might see Bitcoin price double. I suppose in this scenario, geez, that's like $200,000-$300,000. The question, unfortunately, here is, well, what the hell's the price of loaf of bread going to be? What's the price of gasoline going to be at the pump? One of the news headlines from our newsletter here today was that a certain investment advisory firm, who basically, I think, to a certain degree, controls the U.S. government, basically is saying, get ready for $20-$30 instant increase in the price of oil should the Iranians and the Israelis just happen to go head to head here. So, fascinating how this is all going to line up nicely with the Great Reset. And I think I showed you last week. If you want to look at it, there's really great commentary on what the inflation cycles look like, what I'm thinking gold price and gold stocks will do. I think I did that last Sunday. Might have been through the week. I can't remember. I've got about, I think, a basket of 4 different gold and silver stocks that are like a major, intermediate, junior, and property land play that I'm loading up for my registered accounts. That's the way I'm going to play the gold and silver bull. But I could very easily see something like a tete-a-tete with Iran and Israel, and all of a sudden oil prices go crazy. So in a weird sort of way, you can kind of see the writing on the walls. And then, we don't even want to, like I said, go back in the previous videos and look at my conversations about the money supply. Remember, all these price increases, all this kind of stuff, it is purely a function of the money supply. So what a surprise when we go look at the money supply, you see that it's basically gone up like what, 4-fold, 5-fold in the past 10, 20 years, which literally means that all of the prices for everything that we pay in our society must also go up 4 or 5-fold. And I don't think they're done by a long shot. I wouldn't be surprised if that money supply has to double again. So, I warned people about this when I first got into the crypto space. I said, great, your Bitcoin goes to $1 million. But at the same time, too, understand when you go to the grocery store, you're going to have to pay $500 for a loaf of bread. So do you really want your $1 million Bitcoin? And of course, all of you are like, fuck yeah, man, bring it. All right. So, 64,000 foot view. I think that we were going through a correction following the halving event that needed to happen. But this correction's getting a little bit long in the tooth. We've been sitting here doing nothing for 6 months. And I told people like Jim and Liz back last February, I said, look, don't plan on going anywhere for the next year. I want to see you here 1 year from now. Because it felt to me like last February, March, we were in a blow off top. And indeed, actually, we were. And that was actually really, really good analysis. And I think I saved a lot of people a lot of heartache through that. All right. Let's head on over to the Q&A document. We'll spend the rest of the time here. We got about a half an hour just answering questions that people asked. I sure hope I have enough time. If I don't, then, by all means, we'll just drag this on into tomorrow's site video and speak to you guys directly. And if there are questions about specific things on the site or specific studies or something that I don't really want to talk on the public channel about, I'll just defer to doing that tomorrow. All right. Hey, you give me some feedback here, people. The 74 of you that stuck around, are you enjoying the conversation here? You learning anything from anything that Brian's barking about here? Do you get any value from any of this? Would you like to see a live futures trading room maybe on the YouTube channel going forward? I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, okay, good. Hey, we're getting some positive feedback there. That's good. Okay, what do I have to do here? I have to go to Chris, and then we have to go to that AMA document. All right, let's see how hard I'm gonna get hit here. Brian, you are a jerk. What? Oh man. I bought a little Best Buy over 1000000000000000000. We need to see you heist the Solana market. SOL. Hey, you go to the Solana market to have fun, right? They're not called shit coins for nothing. And what you're all learning right now is there's no value to any of this shit, which is so tragic. You guys all get so wrapped up in, oh my God, this stuff's the next best thing from sliced bread, but it's all, especially the Solana coins. You know, your tell, whoever who answered that or asked that question, where was that? SOL. There, extreme footy news. When you hear a guy, when you hear that 500,000 tokens were created on the Solana network, and when I shared with you that video of this guy making a Solana coin out of a silly meme, a cat with hat on his head, and all of a sudden, instantly, the thing goes to $1 million market cap. You have to understand that this stuff's all bullshit. It's all a fugazi. Oh, thank you, Jim and Liz. They're beating me to the punch here. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. You guys are absolute sweethearts. And I don't know, Jim and Liz, do I come across as like an honest individual? Do I come across as an honest human? I mean, all of my conversations and talks with you about Liam is I'm just another person, just like all of you. I've got my trials and my tribulations. And the one thing I really dislike about this world, and I even had a marketing person tell me this, and it's the old bullshit, well, if you want to justify a $5,000 price tag for your education program, wear a Gucci sweater. I mean, what a fucking load of horseshit. I mean, if anything, I am giving you people the straight goods, and I have been for 10 fucking years. Straight goods, no bullshit. This is not easy. Control yourself, manage your emotions, be a risk first approach guy or girl or houseplant. And that's the best part about a guy like me. I couldn't give a shit whether you're a guy or a girl or a houseplant or from like Africa or from Asia. Just be a good person. Don't be a dick. And what pisses me off in this world is the dicks. And what really also irks me is there is a high correlation between people who teach trading and dickheadedness. I don't know what it is. They seem to be extremely highly correlated. Drives me crazy. Oh, well. Okay, 3 questions. Let's see how we do here. Hi, Brian. And were there any questions that I think I got all of these, eh? Oh, yeah. Do not use LOL strategy and leverage together. That's just a mistake. Wrong. And you're in the level 1 course asking this, George. It's perfectly fine that you asked this. You don't know, but do not combine the two. Don't do it. You want to be a leverage trader? You're going to now be a margin leverage trader. And that means kind of like what Chris told you earlier, You have to wake up in the morning if you're going to take a leverage trade, and you actually have to be like, okay, you know what? There's probably a good chance I'm going to get stopped out here. And of course, LOL has nothing to do with that. So you cannot mix these two together at all. They're like water and oil. As one of the candidates, what's this? As one of the candidates is considering unrealized capital gains, what's your opinion? Oh, yeah, I remember we talked lots about that. I don't think that'll ever happen. And I think that absolute worst case scenario, Cami actually does win. I actually think that the US Congress would go to the right. And keep in mind, the House of Representatives is already being controlled by the Republicans. That's why a lot of this Ukrainian funding got slowed down, and a lot of this over the top insane socialism got stopped. So I don't think this ever happens. And if anything, this is that AOC politician down in the States. This is a legacy of the woke nonsense crap. In a world with rising interest rates, there's no way this will ever happen. And keep in mind, the banksters run this whole thing. Do you think the banksters are going to allow you to tax their unrealized capital gains? No fucking way. Okay, moving on. Hi, Brian. Could you share your and TRI's targets for the upcoming bull run in crypto across different portfolios? Should we expect another 500 to 100,000 scenario or stories similar to Luna? Thank you, Zerkela. And I probably butchered your name. Sorry about that. I just gave you my Bitcoin target there. So, you go back and refer to this, right? I'll even put this image right in. And the cool part about this is how many people on social media actually come out with actual dates of when you should actually expect the peak in the market. Have you ever heard of anybody on social media ever do that? I've never heard of it. Hey, it's pretty audacious, to be honest with you, for us to actually come up with dates specifically of when you're supposed to look for these cycle pivots. Where the hell did that damn where did the document go? I thought I had it right on here. Maybe it's over here and over here. Oh, there it is, way over there. Okay, let's put it over here. Okay, so I'm not going to give specifics. Oh, yeah, I expect the portfolio to top out at 62,728. I mean, I'm not going to do that. But what I will say, and you're awfully lucky, is you actually have a very specific target date and a target window for where I expect Bitcoin to go to. I would also say, too, that things like the crypto FA portfolio on the site, I think those names are going to do exceptionally well. Little Old Lady portfolio's got a bunch of assets on the books. And actually, I'm quite pleased at the team. The team is getting its act together. One of the big requests I had of the team was, can we please try and crisp up this reporting of the actual portfolios? And we are making progress. I would really ideally like to try and convince all of you to consider, at least consider, subscribing to our package here, our subscription package. We're going to do a special deal here in November for the Black Friday deal that I think is compelling enough to justify you participating. One thing I absolutely love about the Little Old Lady portfolio is we are extremely well diversified. And this is exactly what you have to get to if you want to do this Little Old Lady, because what will end up happening is the portfolio, if it's well diversified enough, is just going to move up and down with the value of crypto. What exactly is going to be the finishing number here? I haven't got a fucking clue. And frankly speaking, I don't care. I'm not. And this is the one, again, this is the whole marketing side of this. Would you prefer me do a big fancy song and dance and tell you that I fully expect this to go to $1 million? Or do you just want me to be one trader to the next? Look I'm just going to do the plan. I'm going to follow the plan. If assets double in price, I'm going to force myself to sell halves on doubles. And if assets come back down into the bottom end of ranges, I'm going to take whatever cash I have on the books and I'm going to go invest in those names. And I'm just going to do the same thing over and over and over. I mean, honestly, I didn't know what the hell was going to happen with this funny little Trump coin, but man, I'm just doing what I do. So, I expect there to be a lot of doubles in the next year? Absolutely. I think there's going to be tons of doubles. And ironically enough, this portfolio is actually right at the bottom because all these shit coins are all right down at the bottom end of the range. And I'm actually sitting on a lot of cash right now. So a big chunk of this 15,000 is just ready to buy. And I've just been planning on, okay, let's start buying. So don't be surprised if you hear a lot of posts about Brian wanting to buy and Brian buying at the bottom ends of ranges over the next month or two. But I've also said too that, hey, we got a big political event coming up here in the early November. I'm not really in a big hurry to go spend a lot of money until that's out of the way. And nothing has changed with that at all. So I don't know whether that answers your question, but let me know whether you feel as though you got a solid answer to work with there. And to that end, this is what I expect into the fall of next year. So what you do with that opportunity is up to you. Can you hop on a name that goes 100x here? There will be names in the venture cap space. This is how it always works. That will do that because I am so well diversified. I doubt the little portfolio goes 100x, but I think that we'll make money. We will see the account go up. Will it be to the extreme of the 17-18 cycle? I don't know, because this is a very different space now. Having said that, I really like some of the ideas that our CTO, Stuart, has invested in. He has a portfolio of fundamentally vetted names. TRI does have a substantial amount of money working in that portfolio. If you want to get the names, I would strongly suggest that you subscribe to the website and we'll be more than happy. He's even done videos and stuff about the names that he really likes. And I'm not going to show it to you in this free broadcast because, hey, this is a capitalist world. And that kind of information, you want it, you're going to have to step up and pay for it. Sorry. Could you make $1,000 based on investing in some of the names that Stuart has here in this crypto FA? I think you could make many, many, many thousands of dollars. And we already have some of the names that Stuart's bought into have actually already gone up quite a bit. So I think on balance, the subscription is definitely worth it, but I'm not going to go in on a private broadcast or public broadcast and show you what the fundamental names are. You can see how well diversified this crypto portfolio is. We are getting our act together with the Solana portfolio, but at the same time too, I bought a whole ton of shit coins here. Obviously, this is not correct, but we did buy an NVIDIA proxy. Julian just has to sort of figure out how to properly report that. But, both of these portfolios, and keep in mind, the Solana portfolio, this is for fun, right? They're called shit coins for a reason. So just be aware of that. And I mean, do you think that there is any intrinsic value whatsoever? I mean, I don't mean to be rude. You all may think the world of him, but look at that. I should get a double here. Look at that. So, don't be surprised if I come home tonight and you see a tweet banging out doubles. So, but do you think there's any intrinsic value to this thing whatsoever? And if you do, you're sadly mistaken. You really are. This is nothing more than just pump and dump. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. Moving on. What time is it? Oh, I got about 10 minutes. Hey, Brian, I've been generally a profitable position trader, establishing free positions, etc., for a while, and I find it quite boring. Well, then good. Good money management is actually supposed to be borrowing, and boring, not borrowing, boring. And in fact, actually, Grim even said this. I heard him say this in class today. So if it's really boring and you are actually establishing risk-free positions, then you're playing the game correctly. Way to go. Don't let emotions get into this shit. That's the irony of good money management. All right. thinking about getting into futures. All right, well, now we're gonna really knock you off the bus. Tradings, hearing you talk about everyone from day trading room being fully funded. Maybe I can jump in. How do I get started? So first and foremost, if you are in the education program, then you should have access to all of these chat rooms on the site. It might just be read only, but we have a whole bunch of different rooms here. We've got pro signals, DB requests. Anybody should be able to go in there. Little old lady, I think we opened that to the basic site membership, but the harmonics room. Fat Cotter, how you doing on your harmonics manual? Have you finished reading? Medi, right? You should be in here in the harmonics room. Medi went through the program last term. But there is the day trader battle stations room. You should be able to just sit there and just watch us in action. So no reason why you can't do that. I would also say too, though, don't be in a big hurry here. Education program is 1 year in duration for a reason. So you here in level 1, you are on a long journey. And I don't even want to hear about you going to top step or anything like that until you are at least at level 2, maybe even level 3. I was really, really surprised when a level 2er told me recently that he actually went and passed the top step combine, and he's funded with them. I was like, damn, that's impressive. Because usually most people that I work with, it takes a solid year or so for you to get your shit together to the point where you can actually day trade. Because it means no emotion. Wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go through your routine, trade your setups, put your opinions aside. They are meaningless. And of course, be a risk manager first and rinse and repeat, right? Just like Medi's saying there, profit, rinse and repeat. So I don't know whether that answers your question. At level 1 right now, I don't want to hear about you going and trying out to be a prop trader. Level 2, okay. I mean, Marat is very, very good at really showing you the candy that a lot of day traders use. And also, too, we introduce you formally to the futures industry in level 2 and all the nuances about it. So at the very least, I want you in the level 3 program. And then once you're there, I'll talk to you about your pro trader workbench. Remember, in your level 1 program, you're supposed to book 100 paper trades. You think you're going to be able to do 100 paper trades in even a month? No. Maybe you do like, I don't know, a dozen, 2 dozen trades in a month, maybe. Then that means it's going to take you about like 9-10 months to actually get to 100 trades. So you've got a long, long journey ahead of you. I didn't say anywhere there that it wasn't achievable, but just go slowly, pace yourself. You've got a long journey ahead of you. Embed yourself in the day trader room. Send me lots of questions. Do you even have a trading plan yet? I don't think you'd have a trading plan yet. You might have investment plans. Looks like you have a position trading plan running. I don't know how fully vetted that is. And, take advantage of Grim. Show him your setups. I mean, hell, maybe you show Grim, hey, look at these 20 paper trades that I just did, trading the El Tangonator, not a single mistake. And if there's not a single mistake in there and you show a profitable balance for your paper trading, he might say, you know what? You're the first one here. Way to go. I think you're ready to go try out for Top Step. But I don't think you're there. And don't kid yourself. This is a lot harder than it looks, especially when you're in the trenches and you're actually risking real money. This game becomes a lot more difficult. You've got to get rid of the emotions. So that's the whole reason why we want you to take 100 paper trades. So I hope that answered the question. I've got about 3 or 4 minutes for the last question here, and we'll see how we do here. Brian, what do you mean by candle body highs and lows for trade location? Can you please explain and give an example? Sure, that's an easy one. In fact, actually, we even had a great example in Bitcoin here recently. A really good example for all of you. We had a really nice bottom come in here on the Bitcoin about, I guess about a month or so ago. And of course, in the level 1 program, you learn, there's so, and you're in level 1 program. So pace yourself here, please. I mean, add this as a piece to your education. No reason why you can't. And of course, confluence of reasons around trade locations, even more support for that being a valid reason to take a trade. So in the level 1 program later on, you're going to learn about fib tools, right? Fibonacci retracements. If we can just make this a little bigger so you can see it, right? So that's this study. And you're going to learn about the reload zone, 61.8 to 78.6. And you'll notice, you see this line right across here says candle body low, high low for trade location. So this is a really good example where we had the reload zone, which you're going to learn about in level 1. And when we actually looked at the candles, right? That's what these are, the red and green. Of course, this is a full week in the education program as well. We study candlestick patterns and candlestick math and all that. But notice, look at what this is here. The market came down, it closed here, even though it had this absolutely insane tail. So what happened through the day was the market went down, and then it came all the way back up and closed there. Beep. That's what this candle looks like if you break it apart. And notice the next candle opened up the same level and it continued higher. So what that means is there is some sort of shelf here that the market, there was clearly a seller dominating right here. Sell, 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 sell. Then it got to a point where simply the sellers ran out. And all it takes is one little 1/100th of a Satoshi trade. And if there are just no sellers here, the next trade might be bang right back to that level where it closed the candle, i.e., there's just no interest by anybody to do any business down here. So what ends up happening is everybody else in the marketplace sees that. Everybody else in the marketplace sees that, where this tail in itself is what's called a tail. It actually represents an area where there just wasn't really much business done here. There, ironically enough, there might have been a lot of business, but by time the reporting period was done, that business was completely finished. And then when the next candle opened up, there was no interest whatsoever in coming back down here. So this now represents an incredibly powerful level, especially for institutional type players. Why? Well, what happens if we change this to a line chart? And remember, line charts are what institutional people follow. They don't really follow, like if you're at like a mutual fund or an index fund and stuff like that, whenever you get the shareholder reports, do you ever see a chart that looks like this? No. They all, I guarantee you, look like line charts. Maybe not blue, but they look like line charts. So now you can see when we draw this level on here, do you see how significant that level is to the marketplace? That is a very, very important level. And odds are, if we do come down and revisit that, at least on first blush, there is going to be some sort of play against that level. Now, it might just be it bounces into that level, it comes back out, and then the sellers dominate and it keeps heading lower. But 9 times out of 10, there will be some sort of bounce there. So that's why it's so important to keep these references. And then, like I said a second ago, if you can align these reference levels with other concepts like reload zones, well, my friend, you now start having a really, really good trade location tool. And you tell me, hindsight's 2020, but you tell me, had you stepped up and bought Bitcoin like a boss, what, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, right there, would the girls be throwing their panties at you? Would the boys be throwing their panties at you? Suppose we're not a sexist world. Actually, I heard I watched a social media article on men in prison and what men in prison when they rape each other, what they actually get given a name in prison. What do they call them? Oh, there's a name that they actually give rapists in prison. Ugh. Anyway, I'm not quite sure how I got off on that. But what was really interesting about this is actually what's called an inside bar. You could make an argument that hell, you could have even after this inside bar had fired, you could have placed your order at these candle body lows, and then you'd say, I've got reload zone, I've got an inside bar, and I've got candle body lows, and with add candle body lows. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you don't like those tangents, eh? Sorry. I was shocked. I actually, there's actually a name that they give them in the prison season for guys who are actually like literally professional rapists in prison. Which you would think that, hey, I'm being sentenced to this correctional institution to try and reform myself to become a better person. But in actual fact, when you go to prison, the odds are you're actually going to come out a lot worse than when you went in. Now, does that help anything? That's how fucked up this world is, right? It's terrible. It's just everything. The Muslims, they say that this is hell. And I hate to say, but that's what hell would look like if I was going to define hell. That's what I'd look at. That's what I would say it would look like. Anyway, okay, so hopefully that answers the question. Is the person who asked that question here, aside from Brian's crazy ass fucking references? The person who asked this question, did they give their name? David, are you here? Glass, we were wondering where you were earlier, Mr. Insights. So good to see you here. And Mr. Insight says, yes, I am a chicken shit by nature. Good. Because I always say the best way to cure that is admitting your faults. So anyway, David, hopefully you felt like you got a good explanation of candle body lows, in this case, lows to buy for trade location. And if anything, what we should probably do is was it this one? Oh, God, I can't even find it. Was it this one? Nope, not that one. Hopefully you've actually, you know what? I think it's this one. Yeah, it is here. Where was that? Not that one, right here, right? So I'm going to put a big fat arrow right on that. And hopefully this is a really good explanation for you of that concept. Candle body lows for trade location. And what we really want to look for is this idea called confluence. If I was going to teach you something that you need to religiously look for, it's this confluence of reasons to justify acting. And right here, this is so cool because candle body lows, reload zone, and then another candle body lows and an inside bar. I mean, geez, you got about like 4 or 5 reasons just to take a shot right there. So that actually worked out really well. Then we had a nice daily inside bar, which you'll learn about when we do the candlesticks program off of the higher time frame right there. That's a buy signal right there. And you can see how the trade worked. So you buy the inside bar, you risk to a break of the bottom. Clearly, we did not break that. We went up at 2-1. Good idea to pay yourself a bit for your hard efforts. Put your stop to scratch on the remaining and just ride the rest of the way higher here. You still have your stop at scratch on the remaining portion of this trade, and you just let it work. I mean, that's the game for you. All right, so let's put that in the document. And David, I didn't hear from you, but I'm hoping, oh darn, I'm hoping that you go, oh yeah, that was a really good explanation, Brian. You are awesome. Never know. Okay, so with that note, we're basically at the end of our 2-hour rant here. So I hope you enjoyed all the crazy ass comments from Brian. Never a dull moment listening to him. And of course, the YouTube algorithm will do me a favor and basically shadow ban me. So I appreciate what you're saying, Mehdi. To be honest with you guys, I've gotten to the point, 10 years into this, I don't think we're going to really make that big of a difference doing this. It's really just more for fun than anything else. Um, and every once in a while, we can sneak in a new person like Jim and Liz into the fold, and they'd be like, "What the hell rabbit hole did we fall down here? Who is this nut job?" All right. Chris, is there anything else I should mention here? Looks like it's top of the hour. I got to get out of here. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for your participation today. Actually, there's quite a few people on the call, so that's kind of good. Hope you level oneers feel like you're getting good value for your money spent, and just keep on keeping on. It's great to see Grim back in the fold. And of course, Grim's going through some challenging times on the home front. So everybody wish Grim some positive PMA and karmic best wishes for Shale. Hang in there, sweetie. Yeah, hang in there. Jojo, maybe you can help her out a little bit. Hope you guys enjoyed the offering, and it wasn't too controversial. And as we always used to say in the past, the absolute best thing you can do for me, Mehdi, is just walk outside, tell a friend. Yeah, God, I listened to this guy today, and man, he had the Bitcoin market completely nailed there over the past 6 months, while Gucci sweater wearers have been absolutely destroyed. Maybe it's worth listening to him, maybe learning what the hell he's trying to impart. There is Adam. So, Adam, great to see you as well. So, everybody, have yourselves a great rest of your day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't take no wooden nickels. Remember what your number one job is. I wonder if any of you even know what your number one job is. Chris, what's their number one job? I always like to bug Chris.
Our number one job is to make sure we play this game so that we can come back tomorrow and play it again.
That's right. Straight from Mr. Hoagland's mouth. Gotta tell you, I'm so impressed how many TRIers are fucking basically working for Nebraska now. There's got to be some way I can get in on this action. All right. Have yourselves a great day. Wish Liam and I all the best of luck on the roads. It's fucking crazy here in Canada right now. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a race war one of these days, but oh well. Wish us the best of luck. Hugs and kisses. The only thing left to say to you good people is bye for now.